Good evening. This is Defacto Review, a weekly analysis of the latest political, economic, and social issues in Mongolia by economist and columnist Mr. D.Jargalsaikhan.
Good evening.
And I'll be your co-host, Tikshirult. Today's topics are on the celebration of the Naadam festival, the economic slowdown in Mongolia, and the updating of construction codes in Ulaanbaatar. This past week, Mongolians celebrated the annual Naadam festival. This year's National Naadam holiday commemorated the 2230th and the 2231st anniversaries of the foundation of the first statehood of Mongolia, 815 and 816th anniversaries of the establishment of the Great Mongol Empire, the 110 and the 111th anniversaries of the restoration of national freedom and independence, and the 100 and 101st anniversaries of the People's Revolution of Mongolia. Mr. D.Jargalsaikhan, how did you celebrate Naadam yourself?
Well, like many Mongolians, I went countryside, watched wrestling and horse racing by TV, and played a round of golf.
Sounds like a fun Naadam. The festival opened with the tradition of the arrival of the 9 white banners to the National Sports Stadium. President of Mongolia, Hurusukh, made opening remarks at the ceremony and paid respect to the 9 white banners. In his speech, the president emphasized the national Naadam holiday, inherited from our ancestors, is a symbol of the existence and independence of the Mongolian state, the unity and freedom of the Mongols, their history, values, cultural heritage, spiritual heritage, and the invaluable cultural asset of humanity. The president also declared the issuance of a historic decree which requires every Mongolian family to honor the great Genghis Khan by posting his portrait in their homes. So what do you think about this decree passed by the president?
I remember one of the presidents also made similar order where every household was advised to have a fiddle horse, head fiddle instrument. And this time about a photo of a picture of Genghis Khan is advised to have in every household. So it's a choice of individuals. Probably, I think, many people will have that portrait.
Naadam is also culturally termed the 3 games of men: Mongolian wrestling, horse racing, and archery. Inscribed in UNESCO's list of intangible cultural heritage of humanity, the Naadam holiday is traditionally celebrated on July 11th to 15th every year.
Yeah, indeed. There is a particular order that Naadam is celebrated every year annually on July 11th to July 15th. This year is celebrated so widely that altogether Mongolians have 9 days holidays. And also it's widely celebrated because we have not celebrated Naadam for the last 2 years, which were digital Naadam. Some partially they played a concerto, etc., but it was all broadcast digitally. And this year the 2 anniversaries are particularly celebrated. I mean, if you have noticed, always there are 2 anniversaries, while of statehood over the 2,200 years, over etc. And that's why the particular reason of celebration, the 2 years celebrations together, is the 100th years of People's Republic of Mongolia, where the ruling party, People's Party, had established the first basis for that revolution, and they could not but celebrate the 100th years of the anniversary. That's why we celebrate. This was in 1921, so 2021 we have missed the holiday, so this year we celebrate 100th and 101st anniversary of the People's Revolution. However, ruling party had forgot that it is also 31st and 32nd years of democratic revolution that changed modern face of Mongolia, had given freedom of individual right, freedom of speech, which is extraordinarily important event for Mongolia. So unfortunately, the ruling party have not mentioned that democratic revolution of Mongolia. As far as UNESCO declaration of intangible asset, our Naadam, it also has a long story because we cannot separate Mongolians' lifestyle, nomadic lifestyle, our culture, without Naadam. Naadam, as you said, Irin, Guru, Naadam, three mainly games: wrestling, archery, and horse racing, which are part of the whole Mongolian evolution. One of the reasons why Mongolia could create empire 800 years ago. So these three sports are so much welcomed, and it's part of our culture, and every Mongolian man is supposed to be excellent in these three games. The interesting thing is about the titles of the wrestlers. If you make there are, for example, for this Naadam, over 1,000 wrestlers came out to the stage, and after every round, half of them are out, listed. Then, if you go, say, for example, if you are winner of 5 rounds, you will have a title. And all these titles are by law now. Hawk of a Nation, 6 round, Falcon of the Nation, 7 round, Elephant of a Nation, 8 round, Garuda of a Nation, the 9th round is Lion of a Nation. And this time 2 young men won, number 1, number 2. The champion who won 10 rounds, the champion is mostly translated as a giant in Mongolia. So once I remember that the elite wrestler was named like this. The title was eye-pleasing, nationally famous, mighty, and invincible giant. That was the title of that man. And this year also very interesting. For the first time we saw wrestlers from other Mongolian nations. Tuva, Inner Mongolians, Buryats. These first 2 are from Tuva and Buryat are from Russia. Inner Mongolians are from China. And another thing I would like to highlight is the prize. The sport is so well accepted, respected, weighted, so that the wrestler prize is very high. Every year, the giant or the champion of that Naadam is given a brand new Land Cruiser, or the Moniz company representative of Nissan gives Nissan Patrol YU62. So, and there is also local council of their provinces. One province originated people have one community. That community is always very proud of the winner, and they usually give apartments, etc. So it's a very high stake at the Naadam Festival, and that's why this sport is also very famous. And also I would like to highlight that this Naadam was organized for the first time by the new law. There were several problems with dopings. So this time the titles will be certified first now. Then after negative test of doping, then the real title are given, because it was otherwise before problem. And later on, after giving title, some found with a positive test of dopings. The other interesting thing was about the horse racing. And this horse, for example, in order to, they say, maintain this Mongolian breed of horses clean, they say clean, they allowed only horses to, for example, for a follow age horse to be under, the back is to be under 127 centimeters. For sprouts or adult horses, it is to be under 141. As above than this, major horses are usually brought from other countries, and they are different in competitions. So these are the specifics I would like to give to our audience about Mongolian Naadam. Of course, the rest you have already yourself enjoyed, I understand. So that's some information I would like to give you.
Okay. Thank you. I hope you had a great Naadam. And for our next topic, we'll be discussing the economic slowdown in Mongolia. So the World Bank's latest global economic prospects report shows that the damage from the COVID-19 pandemic, along with the Russian invasion of Ukraine, has magnified the slowdown in the global economy, which is entering what could become a protracted period of feeble growth and elevated inflation, which we describe as stagflation. Global growth is expected to drop to 5.7% in 2021 to 2.9% in 2022, significantly lower than the 4.1% that was anticipated earlier this year. It is expected to hover around that pace over 2023 to 2024 as the war in Ukraine disrupts activity, investment, and trade in the near term. Pent-up demand fades, and fiscal and monetary policy accommodation is withdrawn. So my question to you about this issue is, could you please explain the difference between economic recession and an economic slowdown?
Economic slowdown, when you observe the slow growth of the economy, maybe 1 quarter or so. Economic recession, officially called, if the economy goes 2 quarters in a row, goes shrunk. That means if, for example, now this year we had first quarter slowdown and we had a minus economic growth. If it goes the second time, say soon in July, there will be statistics information about the growth. If it goes again shrunk, then we call it officially economic recession.
Our next question is, does an economic slowdown necessarily lead to a recession?
In some cases, yes. If it is first quarter minus, then the second quarter minus. But if the reason may be short term, so that the first quarter is a minus plus the second quarter is a plus. So in that case, but unfortunately after the long COVID stagnation, and then, as you said, because the war in Ukraine, which impacts on supply chain of Mongolia, and not only Mongolia, in fact, then most probably we are facing now the recession, because the second quarter looks like to be minus. Also, why? See, remember in 2020 we had a minus 4 and 6% contraction of the economy. And 2021, it comes up a little bit up, 1.4% plus growth. But this year, at the beginning there were many forecasting saying that it will be around 4%, 3%, and every 3 or 3 months it goes down, the forecasting. Now probably either 0 or minus a bit. Why? Because Mongolia, the main index or main indication of the economic dynamics is policy rate. 2021, Mongolian central bank policy rate was around 6% and plus 6.5%. They have increased only 0.5% during a year. And during that year, when the very soft economic policy or very slow, unusually slow policy rate around 6% made some, of course, impact on the banking sector of the country. Bank decreased saving rates to the 6 or so percent, which made people converting either their savings in tugriks into dollars savings, or they started to buy coins. In 2021, Mongolians have bought around 2 trillion MNT worth, tugrik worth, coins. And the coins' value went down substantially, one. Secondly, Mongolian stock exchange market capitalization had grown 2 times, historic high. It came to the 6 trillion MNT level. So people are trying to avoid banking on one side. So banks have very low resources to lend because they are very small deposit. In fact, in 2021, Mongolian MNT Tugrik's saving decreased by 7% year on year at the end May of 2022. But the US dollar saving have increased by 2.5%. So banks have very small resources on one side. On the other side, due to the economic slowdown, because of the COVID, people were not able to pay their loans on time. So the increase of non-performing loans made also bank to increase their reserve for risk. Then it also shrink down the fund for loan. The third reason also, because two largest banks are preparing for public offerings according to the new Mongolian banking law. And because they are preparing for IPO, because they are required to have asset revaluation by independent company, it's going on. So until that is gone, that is finished, the banks want to have their ratio, the liquidity ratio sounding good. So that's another reason why they are not lending much. So altogether, together with the slowdown of the lending, the economy also goes down. So that makes me thinking the economic slowdown will continue. Plus, there is about 10% compared with the beginning of the year. Now, after 7 months, the MNT devaluated for 10% in comparison to US dollar, 280.59, and now 3,145, 10% devaluation of Mongolia in 2 weeks. Plus, all this is happening when the balance of payment of the country goes down. More deficit we see now. Why? Because the money we spend abroad for import is more than export. And the main export of Mongolia is coal and copper. And coal export is way lower than they have been planning, and it's even a half is not done. Almost 1/3 of whole year sales is just happened. So that's why the country receiving less hard currency and is spending more hard currency when the economy is opened. There are two sectors which have completely recovered: trade and service industry. Both are the largest employer. So that's good news. The bad news is transport and construction industries are not recovered yet, mostly due to the logistics related to Chinese border, and the COVID situation in China. So with this combination of positive and negative recovery, we most probably going to have another slowdown this second quarter of the year.
Moving on to our next topic, there was a meeting on the updating of current standards in the construction industry by the mayor's office. In the local administration of the capital city, a new building must meet 702 different requirements to be habitable, 619 of what we call norms, and 57 regulations. These mentioned regulations are a part of the uniform building code set by the local administration. As of right now, there are around 4,700 construction objects that do not meet said building codes. To combat this, the mayor's office has proposed to update 86 construction standards and 80 construction norms. Moreover, 51 construction projects have been fully scrapped for public use. So my question to you is, after updating these construction codes, how will the city be able to monitor and enforce these codes?
good question. They are now only just suggesting to standard and measurement agency to update our laws and regulations. There are rules, there are norms, laws, etc. There are total 33 laws that are regulating, and 25 rules and 86 standards altogether are called a code. There are 4,700 locations that are harmful to safety of living, including public road, squares, children playgrounds, community spaces. The problem in Mongolia is in developed nations there is first a zoning law, second planning law, the third is urban construction law. In Mongolia all these processes are regulated just by urban construction laws, in which just one provision talk about planning. And that's the whole problem. And that's the reason why Mongolia, in Ulaanbaatar, you will see houses so close to each other, construct buildings so close, a road so narrow that nothing to say about two cars going there, passing by, but crossing, but even two persons cannot cross. So that the planning situation is so bad, plus city management, bad corruption, etc. So many issues to be solved in Mongolian Ulaanbaatar city. Even the master plan of Ulaanbaatar city, or not only Ulaanbaatar, all other cities are approved by the parliament. Parliament is to approve only the zoning and planning laws, but the urban construction is to be the local authorities' work. So in many things are not in order in Mongolia. I think it is in many cases on the purpose for the sake of corruption, because people, public officers, at least before in the city administration, have been becoming very rich people, are selling public land somehow under the table, and many criminal cases are underway, but we don't see somehow their result for years. So they say the court is going on that issues. The other thing is about construction materials quality. There is no monitoring agency in Mongolia who properly monitor each quality. For example, they planned this year 57,000 square meter pedestrians to be renovated. But in a city where half of population lives, only 7 small workshops are around the city, and they have not enough capacity to provide the materials. So then people go to the building materials market and buy materials that are not certified, and they also ask people who are not certified to make this kind of pedestrians. But because they plan, because the short term, they usually go for that, and bad quality, not skilled people make roads, but only pedestrians of the other roads that they need to renew every year. That's one of the reasons why in summer many the sidewalks, pedestrians are being changed in Ulaanbaatar city. And as you asked, whether with this new law, even these laws and standards are changed, will they give us guarantee to quality life and quality of our housing, safety of the materials? I am not sure that, because it is a matter of not state agency control. It's a matter of insurance. The insurance companies should give insurance for the quality or safety of any buildings. For that, they need to check every construction materials when in the process of building up, not after. They completely fill everything's with the surface, and we don't know what is inside in terms of pillar, other materials. So that's why I feel insurance companies and every construction building, road, everything is to be insured. Only in that way the quality is guaranteed. Otherwise, state cannot have so many controllers who will check everything that you can see and what you cannot see.
So this concludes this week's edition of Defacto Review. Thank you for your input as always, Mr. D.Jargalsaikhan.
See you this time next week.